let's move on to you and the resurrection of the hottest show on cable. You and I used to talk about this because we're friends, about how your live PD was crushing like the prime time lineups of Fox, CNN, MSNBC. It was crazy how this thing took off. And just for people who didn't watch it, tell us what it was before we get to its demise and its resurrection.
So it was a show that followed police in real time, numerous departments around the country, with multiple cameras in each city, and bouncing between departments depending on what was happening. There would be in-studio analysis from two former police officers, one former, one current at the time, providing perspective on what they were doing and why they were doing it, et cetera. And look, the show was a massive hit, I think, for a number of reasons. That A, I think people are interested in policing. But B, I think that there was also the uncertainty, the same way that police officers are uncertain about what happens next, right? And when you're a police officer, you don't know what's going to happen when you pull over a vehicle. You get a 911 call about a suspect who is waving a gun. Very often that initial call doesn't provide you with the perspective. So you arrive at a scene pretty uncertain as to who's where and what's happening, et cetera. And that's what this show, what Live PD showed in the past, and what this new show will show, which is being able to see it from the perspective of a police officer in real time.
Now you have somewhat of a delay just to be responsible and make sure you're not showing very graphic something that people shouldn't have in their homes and sitting there watching with kids, what have you. But other than that, people are they're sort of there live on the scene watching the cops a few minutes after it happens, as it happens.
Right. So I'm shooting it in real time, meaning as the host, et cetera, we're doing it live, as if it's live. There is a delay, as you point out, to ensure, for example, there isn't an undercover cop who's in the shot, or a child, or someone makes some incredibly libelous allegation about, somebody else without any proof, et cetera. Those are all the sorts of things that we need to have a delay for. But as you point out, it's just a few minute delay. But I'm not really impacted by it as the host because I'm still filming it in real time.
Yeah. Okay. So it was hugely successful. People bonded with it. They loved the show Cops. They loved the show Live PD. There's obviously a huge audience for it. And both of those shows, Cops and Live PD, which is on A&E, got canceled despite being the number one show on A&E and many times number one in cable. Canceled at the height of its popularity. There was no controversy about it. There was one story. They were like, oh, we can get into the one cop misbehavior. But really, it wasn't immersed in a controversy at all. It was in the wake of the George Floyd death and the shitstorm that rained down on police officers. And it was decided by the woke left, you can't have a show that I think they called it copaganda. That's in any way they viewed it as glorifying police.
Yep. No, look, there was a real movement, and it wasn't just, as you know, in terms of police shows, right? It was even procedurals on TV. People didn't want TV shows, movies, to in any way, quote unquote, glorify police. That's part of the problem in our society. And, look where we are today. Cops have been demonized across the country. We are facing a real crisis with police departments around the country not having enough cops. That's because they're retiring. They're having problems with recruiting. Why? Well, high crime is sure part of it, but part of it is the fact that police officers just aren't being appreciated for what they do every day. People forget. A lot of people who don't cover police have this sense of cops being out there with their guns. The vast majority of police officers in this country never fire their weapon in the line of duty ever.
That's right.
Ever in their entire careers, right? So now let's talk about what everyone else, what the majority of police officers do every day in this country. And that's what this show On Patrol Live is showing people. It's going to be showing what it's like to be a police officer in a variety of different kinds of departments. We've got city police departments like Paterson, New Jersey. We've got sheriff's departments like Richland County, South Carolina. We're throughout the country in 8 departments, bouncing between them. But most importantly, it allows you to see it through the lens of an officer. And by the way, there may be things that people see on the show where they watch it and they say, I disagree. I don't think the police officer should have done that. Okay, that's for them to decide. But it is really important, I think, in providing perspective on what it's like to be a police officer in America.
As I saw Live PD, and I assume On Patrol will be the same, there was no agenda. There was no pro-cop or anti-cop. It was like, here's what cops do. Watch this.
Yep.
You can. Yep. It's up to the viewer to make up his or her own mind about whether it's good or bad.
Totally right. And that is certainly going to be the case on Patrol Live. Is we're there to chronicle it. We're there to show you what's happening. And then we're there to provide some perspective on, what's happening and why it's happening. And again, there'll be people who will watch it and say, oh, that cop shouldn't have done that. I saw that on Patrol Live. Okay, fair enough. But that should be a reason to support the show. Meaning, exactly. People support body cams. I support body cams. People on both sides seem to support body cams. Body cams help protect officers as well. And so I think part of the beauty of body cams is it allows people to see it after the fact. This just allows you to see it in real time as it's happening.
Mm-hmm. So how hard was it to get a carrier? It's going on Reelz, Reelz, and people can check their cable provider to see what channel that is for you. But it's got a little less distribution than A&E. But I would think people would have been clamoring to resurrect this show, like the cable providers or cable stations. So how hard was it to find a taker?
So I will say that I was approached by a number of networks about the show. And in some cases, the folks who made the decisions were too woke to allow it on the air. That was the problem in certain times. But with other places, it was actually the logistical issue, which is that this show is a big investment. And I don't just mean it financially. I mean, this community who has followed Live PD and now I hope will come with us to on Patrol Live is really invested in what we're doing. And we didn't want a partner who was going to say, oh, you know what, we'll sign up for 8 episodes or 10 episodes, and then we'll see how it does in the ratings. We're very confident it's going to rate well. But we wanted a network who was really all in, who was going to say, let's do this together. Let's not go in halfway on this thing. And Reelz was that network. It's privately owned by Hubbard Communications. They don't care if people don't like it. And they're in. And so that's what we were really looking for in a partner, and ended up finding it with Reelz. And it's been pretty cool. I have to say, on social media, all these people who didn't know about Reelz before suddenly saying, all right, how do I get it? I got to sign up for Sling or Philo and have it added. No, it is in basic cable throughout the country in most major markets. But as you point out, not quite as widely distributed as some others. But now a lot of people are looking for it because that community is so invested in the show.
If you're like me, you're growing more and more concerned about the future. The market's all over the place. Don't even look. It's just depressing. And inflation's at its highest level in 40 years. Interest rates are up. Market experts are predicting a recession, and they're using terms like economic hurricane and unprecedented. You never want to hear the U word when it comes to the economy. If you want to protect your future, call a precious metal dealer I trust, American Hartford Gold. They can show you how to protect your savings and retirement accounts by diversifying. You got to diversify your portfolio with physical gold and silver. All it takes to get started is a short phone call, and they will have physical gold and silver delivered right to your door or inside your IRA or 401k. Super easy. And they keep it simple. They're the highest rated firm in the country with an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau and thousands of satisfied clients. And as an exclusive offer for my fans, if you call them right now, they will give you up to $1,500 of free silver and a free safe on qualifying orders. Don't wait. Call them now. The number's 866-518-2955. 866-518-2955. Or if you prefer, you can text my name, Megyn, to 65532. Again, that's 866-518-2955 or text MEGYN to 65532. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.